The story begins with an indifferent and downtrodden individual named Arthur Fleck in Gotham City. He worked for a company where advertisements were promoted for various things. He worked there as a comedian for ad promotions. His daily job was to entertain people by acting as a clown in various places. Arthur was getting ready for work in the makeup room where the TV was broadcasting the news. It was reporting about the chaotic situation in Gotham City. The city had plunged into turmoil, as depicted in the footage being shown. The prices of commodities were skyrocketing, leaving the poor outside the grip of survival. The destitute were becoming victims of exploitation by the wealthy. It seemed like the poor were being crushed under the feet of the affluent. There, the rich are getting richer, and the poor are getting poorer. Time is moving so fast that the wealthy are shaping society's rules and laws to their liking. They are committing various injustices under the guise of their wealth and power, all of which are being shielded from everyone's eyes. It is announced that in the tainted chapter of society, only the vulnerable are victims. After finishing the makeup, Arthur comes out onto the street to advertise for a music company named Everything Must Go. He was prepared for his job. While trying to catch people's attention through various antics, some mischievous kids come there and start snatching the signboard from Arthur's hand. Arthur runs after them, and in the chase, he enters an alley with the children. Then, one of those mischievous children hits Arthur in the face with the signboard. Arthur's face is cut, and blood starts to flow. As a result, the signboard breaks. Arthur falls, and the children continue to beat him. They say that he is so weak, such a joker, that he can only make people laugh. What else can he do? Injured, Arthur is left alone there. The next day, Arthur goes to his psychiatrist because he is a mental patient. He needed good treatment because he wanted to be a good stand-up comedian, so he wanted to get better. Doctor advised Arthur to write regularly because from Arthur's drawings and mental state, the doctor could tell about Arthur. In his diary, the doctor saw Arthur write lines. He hoped his death would be more valuable than his life. It is clear that Arthur is a frustrated man. At the end of the visit, Arthur returns home. He takes the bus to go home. When he was on the bus, a boy was staring at him. He tries to entertain the boy by doing various antics, but the boy's mother does not like it. She angrily tells Arthur to stop. Arthur, feeling helpless, continues to laugh loudly. The woman gets more annoyed. Then Arthur shows a card that says, Arthur has a medical condition where he bursts into laughter when something bad happens to him, or when he is under stress. In his childhood, his many illness began with a blow to the head, and perhaps this laughter is Arthur's disease, where he accumulates his inner anger and resentment. Even though he now suffers when pretending to laugh as a clown, he still laughs this way. Returning home, Arthur checks his mailbox as usual, and, as usual, it is empty. He enters the house and talks to his mother, whom he loves dearly. Starting from serving her food to taking care of all her needs, he does everything. Although Arthur was becoming more withdrawn day by day, his mother took care of him properly because he loved her very much. She cooked for him, cleaned up after him, and did everything herself. When asked about his day, Arthur just shrugs, but his mother always takes care of him properly because he loves her very much. She does everything for her mother's sake. She asks if there is any letter from Thomas Wayne. Arthur says no, he hasn't come yet. Arthur's mother, Penny, worked as a maid in Thomas Wayne's house for 30 years. Thomas Wayne is the richest man in Gotham City. He has billions of dollars in wealth and a long list of assets. Penny described their situation to him and wrote a letter to him, thinking if Thomas could know about their situation, he would help them. Arthur and his mother start watching TV, and their favorite reality show begins. The host of the show was Mary Franklin, a popular comedian at the time. Both Arthur and his mother enjoyed watching her show. Arthur was a big fan of Mary Franklin, never missing any of her shows. He watched all of Mary Franklin's shows. He idolized her. Everything Arthur had learned about comedy so far, he had drawn inspiration from Mary's words. He wanted to become a comedian like her. The next day, Arthur goes to work, and one of his colleagues comes to talk to him about the incident from the previous day. He tells Arthur that it's not right to endure everything with a smile like that. He should speak up against it. He needs to solve his problems. He gives him a gun and tells him to defend himself. Although Arthur doesn't want to take it, he reluctantly takes it from his colleague. Meanwhile, Arthur's boss calls him to his room and asks why he didn't return the signboard from that day. If he doesn't return it, the money will be deducted from his salary. Arthur can't say anything. What will he say? That the guy gets beaten up regularly by him? These things were not new to him. Arthur feels a lot of anger towards himself. He keeps asking himself, am I so worthless, so unbelievable that no one can trust me? Arthur harbors a lot of anger toward himself. Whatever happens or has happened to him, he cannot come to terms with it himself. He feels helpless in front of people who are always losing themselves. He doesn't know how to respond or oppose those who always lose to themselves. Arthur wants to break free from all of this. On his way back home from the office, he meets a girl named Sophie in the elevator. Sophie was a very beautiful girl. Sophie was divorced, and Arthur liked her. When she comes to his room, his mother asks if there is any letter for him. Arthur checks the letterbox and says, "No. Letter has arrived." Arthur tells his mother that Thomas Wayne, a very busy and influential man, hasn't received their letter yet. There is doubt whether they will receive help from him even if he reads it, because not everyone has the heart to help others. His mother thinks Thomas Wayne is a very good person and he will help them. Arthur listens to a song where he doesn't see any sympathy from his boss towards his employees. He finds it funny that his mother received some help from her employer 30 years ago. Arthur turns on the TV and listens to the song. Thinking about this, he starts dancing with the gun in his hand. Although society discriminates between the rich and the poor, everyone is equal in front of this gun. Everyone fears it, so they do what they are told. The biggest reason for this is that everyone fears death. The next morning, Arthur sees Sophie and follows her. She had already taken a liking to him, and Sophie intentionally came to meet Arthur the night after. Sophie understood that Arthur was following her, but she wasn't upset. Rather, she was impressed by Arthur. They spend quality time together, enjoying each other's company. The next morning, Arthur wakes up and goes to the hospital for a job. There, he entertains children by performing a clown dance. In the dance, his gun falls due to the rhythm of the dance. Everyone at the hospital, including the nurse and children, gets scared seeing his gun. They think Arthur is a bad person. Due to this incident, Arthur loses his job. Arthur tries hard to explain, but the gun has already created a negative image of him. He loses his job because of the gun, which he tried so hard to obtain. Arthur is devastated and blames himself for everything. He faces distrust and hostility from the society around him. The gun becomes a symbol of fear, leading Arthur to lose his job. Arthur tries to understand the significance of his job as he has an unwell mother to take care of, and he relies on that income. However, his boss fires him, believing that Arthur brought the gun intentionally. Arthur attempts to seek solace through the gun, but ends up losing his job. He realizes that all his efforts to be understood are in vain. With the loss of his job, Arthur faces many hardships. He takes the train back home, and there, he encounters 3 employees of Wayne Enterprises mistreating a girl. Arthur's attempt to console the girl results in him getting beaten up by the employees. They criticize Arthur for not standing up against the injustices in society. Arthur wanted to express his problems to them, but they didn't give him that opportunity. At one point, Arthur's patience snaps, overwhelmed by rage, frustration, and pain. He retrieves his gun and shoots the 3 of them on the spot. Their deaths leave Arthur filled with fear, prompting him to flee the scene. Seeking refuge, he enters a restroom and engages in a strange dance, expressing himself through unconventional movements. He has committed 3 murders, and he feels no remorse for it. He believes he has been subjected to so much injustice that his sense of morality has vanished. By committing these killings, he feels he has protested against the injustices he faced, so he finds peace. Looking at himself in the mirror, he sees his own reflection and wonders whether Arthur knows how to protest, or is he just a joker? Standing in front of the mirror, Arthur contemplates a lot. I mentioned earlier not to let anyone's life become so miserable that they forget their own existence. Otherwise, they will assume a dreadful form. In Arthur's case, that's exactly what happened. The news about the 3 murders committed by Arthur spreads rapidly, and I see it on TV news. The news reports detail the killings and inquire Thomas Wayne about the matter. Thomas mentions that the deceased were all good people, so their deaths were never warranted. He expresses profound sorrow over their deaths, while the one who committed the murders was associated with a joker. What surprises everyone is that the city sympathizes not with the victims, but with the joker. Everyone is showing empathy towards him, not for the victims. Seeing the cheers and support for Arthur as the joker makes him happy. People are speaking in his favor, and his fame indicates that Arthur, who used to suffer from loneliness and persecution, is now gaining support from many people. Everyone is talking about him and following him. Later, Arthur goes to a psychiatrist for the final consultation. Arthur is surprised and wants to know the reason from the psychiatrist. The psychiatrist explains that the government has cut the budget for social services, so now everyone will not receive this type of treatment for free. Treatment is expensive, and Arthur will not get his medication or treatment. However, he needed medication and treatment to be healthy. He had aspirations to perform comedy shows beautifully after becoming healthy. In the harsh reality of life, he has fallen. Then, after consulting with one person, Arthur wants to perform as a stand-up comedian on a comedy show, since he won't be able to get healthy anymore. What's the point of waiting? So, he decides to go there, where many people are waiting for him. Seeing so many people, he gets nervous. And because of this nervousness, he starts laughing loudly. Due to this exaggerated laughter, his performance deteriorates. He can't perform as he wishes. He tries to control this laughter with his hands, but fails. He can't make the audience laugh, but he himself laughs like a madman, as if his life is a comedy, and he enjoys it, so he keeps laughing. At that moment, Arthur feels very upset. He loses his willpower there. He prepares to return home, and on the way, he sees various posters featuring the Joker and some people wearing Joker masks roaming around. In other words, the whole city is on the side of the Joker. Arthur returns home with Sophie. Sophie considers the Joker her hero. Hearing all this, Arthur feels somewhat happy. Arthur's mother, Penny, calls him again to ask him to post another letter, but before posting the letter, Arthur opens it. It was written there that, "I need your and your child's help," meaning Arthur, the son of Thomas Wayne. Arthur is astonished and becomes angry at his mother. She wonders why her mother never told her about this before. Her mother explains that there was a time when there was a relationship between them, but due to the class difference between the rich and the poor, taking this relationship forward was not possible. Thomas, angered by these questions, reveals to Arthur that he is the illegitimate child of his mother, and he calls his mother a crazy woman. Arthur says, "You all have conspired to turn me into a laughingstock, to the point where the pain inside me has become so intense that I can only laugh now." Arthur laughs louder and louder, and then Thomas punches him in the face, and he leaves from there. Arthur feels a lot of pain, considering his life a curse. He wants to end himself, so he locks himself in a refrigerator. He thinks dying is better than living. At that moment, a call came in, which was Mary Franklin's inviting him to Mary Franklin's show. The clip shown that day has become very popular, and people now want to see him on that show. Upon receiving Mary's invitation, Arthur decides to go to the show as it is one of his favorite shows. Then Arthur comes to Arkham Mental Hospital, where Arthur's mother Penny had once received treatment. Arthur wants his mother's file because he wants to know the truth of what Thomas said. He was turning those words over and over in his mind, but the hospital authorities refused to provide him with that file. Then Arthur seizes the opportunity and steals the file. Reading the file, he experiences intense pain, perhaps finding out the truth he had been seeking. Arthur's mother, Penny Fleck, had a boyfriend in her past with whom she had a close relationship, and that boyfriend used to abuse Arthur in front of her. This kind of torture once caused Arthur to suffer a severe head injury, which left him so unwell and in this state. The head injury is the reason he continues to face this problem. Broken and shattered, Arthur goes to Sophie to share his sorrows, but Sophie is never there for him. Every moment spent with Sophie was a cherished fantasy for him. The words read in the file filled Arthur's mind with disgust. He resented why his mother had kept these hidden for so long. Why hadn't she protected him from such abuse? She never left the abusive boyfriend for her son's sake, and the injuries inflicted by him led to Arthur's current severe condition. He feels his mother considers him the culprit, breeding much resentment and anger towards her. Perhaps every word in that file could be a lie. Maybe it's all manipulation by Thomas. But every time, Thomas has supported him and called him a good person. Then how can someone who has left his child alone for so many years be deemed good? It has left him feeling rejected. His mother kept this relationship hidden for someone's sake, which is why Arthur is suffering day by day and struggling with agony. Contemplating these responsibilities, his mother, Arthur, becomes psychologically disturbed. He sinks further into despair and hopelessness. His behavior becomes erratic, losing control over himself, and behaving like a madman. When he goes to the hospital, he stands before his mother and says, "For so long, I thought my life was an accident, but now I understand it was a spectacle." Then he smashes her with a pillow. Then he leaves the hospital and prepares to go to Mary Franklin's show. He doesn't have the clown's costume. At that moment, he finds an old photo of his mother, behind which Thomas had written something. Written, "Pan's laughter, Thomas's favorite." There was a time when their relationship existed, but now Arthur is no longer part of it because he has already killed his mother. At that moment, two of his colleagues arrived there. They had come to offer condolences for his mother's death. One of the colleagues was the one who had framed him and fired him from his job, falsely accusing him. And now, he has come to offer false sympathy. Arthur is no longer Arthur. He is now the Joker. He knows how to retaliate against everything. Responsible for Arthur's state, he attacks his colleague and kills him. There is no remorse for this murder. He smears his entire body with blood and leaves from there. After that, Arthur doesn't leave from there. Instead, the Joker emerges, who always protests against injustice and refuses to uphold injustice to establish justice. A new era of justice has dawned, where the Joker has been introduced as the hero of the oppressed. The Joker is ecstatic. He dances, expressing his joy through his movements. One person's relentless reality, the oppression of society and the state, can take the Joker to what extent is his proof. As Arthur transforms into the Joker, two policemen who were present there notice him. The Joker flees from there. He seeks refuge in anonymity. Boarding a train, he finds a carriage where many people had dressed as the Joker. Amidst this chaos, the police lose track of the Joker and fail to apprehend him. Afterward, the Joker arrives at the Murray Franklin show. Mary meets him and asks if he, too, is protesting against influential wealthy people. The Joker chuckles a bit and requests Mary that when he is called on stage, she introduces him to everyone as the Joker. Mary reminisces about how he had amused everyone during his previous appearance on the show. The Joker sits with Mary on the show, and she asks him the reason behind his attire. The Joker says he loves making people laugh, so he dresses as the Joker. Mary starts bantering with him, and the Joker reveals that he committed the 3 murders a few days ago. However, those murders were not just random. They were driven by a simmering reality. In this society, the poor are marginalized, subjected to various forms of exploitation, and often die unnoticed in poverty. While the wealthy may incur minor losses, it triggers turmoil in society, deflecting attention from the plight of the poor. Even if a poor person dies, no one comes forward to claim them. No one wants to search for them. In this corrupted society, where workers and laborers abandon their small dreams and contribute to the extravagant lifestyles of the rich, everyone is selfish, seeking personal gain through others' exploitation. Today, they have included the Joker in their show, but behind this lies their self-interest. They want to increase the TRP of their show and expand their business, all driven by selfish motives. No one wants to step forward without self-interest. Mary Franklin, like those people, wears a mask of goodness, but is just as bad as a villain. Joker's words go against Mary. She becomes enraged by Joker's words and wants to remove him from there. Joker says it's time for one of his jokes. Then he turns the gun towards Mary and shoots her. People around get scared and everyone rushes to leave the place. The police arrive there and try to arrest the Joker. On the street, a crowd of people gathers, all supporters of the Joker. They chant in favor of the Joker, and some even stop the police car with a truck's impact because they want to save the Joker. The people there consider him their hero and pull the Joker out of the car. The Joker climbs onto the car, blood on his face, and uses that blood to create a smile on his face. Today, the Joker is very happy. He has awakened the oppressed and downtrodden people. He has sparked a revolution in this new era of protest. Amidst this upheaval, Thomas Wayne, his wife, and their son Bruce are there, and at that moment, a masked figure arrives and shoots Thomas and his wife, killing them. Arthur was taken to a mental hospital where he continued to laugh uncontrollably before a psychiatrist. Perhaps he received the news of Thomas Wayne's death in this manner. The psychiatrist asks Arthur about the reason for his laughter, but Arthur refuses to understand. The psychiatrist is surprised to hear this, and Arthur leaves the place with blood on his face. He finds someone who had killed the psychiatrist. He doesn't care much about losing or winning anymore. He doesn't want his life to be so miserable that he no longer fears death. Otherwise, he will adopt a terrifying form of existence by losing his identity. Please, subscribe to our channel.